Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Lost Sheep Podcast. I'm Nazario Pengal here with
Cole Bissett.
and
Evan Aber.
today is, let's see here, January 21st. This is episode number 77 of the Lost Sheep Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us anywhere you find your podcast, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We're out there. And today is going to be a very fun episode. We've got a mailbag episode planned for you guys. As you can see, if you are on YouTube, there is a red bowl on our table with all of our wonderful questions that were submitted here at Bama Catholic. Going to be a very fun episode. But before that, fellas, how are we doing?
Yeah, you know, the fun part about the mailbag episode is I told Nazario on Monday, I said go, or was it Tuesday? I don't remember. It was Monday or Tuesday. I said go put out a bowl and, you know, write the thing. And I said make sure you get a bowl of candy and put it next to it. And Nazario never got a bowl of candy. And it was kind of a nice social experiment to see, like, if people will actually read what's on the thing. And it's in the middle of the Sabin Center, which is a huge table. And so it's very obvious when there's just a bowl sitting there. And we didn't have one question submitted. Not one. Not a single one submitted yesterday. And so this morning we had Upper Room, and so we went to go hang out there. And then right after Upper Room, I ran to Dollar Tree, got some candy, and then came straight back and put the candy out. And literally within hours, we had 10 questions. And it was like, dang, all it takes is a little bit of enticement. So that was a cool social experiment. For me, my week's been good. We had a 4-day weekend, so nice little breather. Got a chance to just chill for a little bit. Got back into the swing of things. Slowly, looking at tests coming up. Not excited about that, but I'm excited to see what the semester holds for me and ways I'll grow and get better. So what about you over there, Mr. A-Bear?
Good week. Just turned in my first assignment. So that was kind of weird. Besides that, I've been feeling pretty argumentative and pretty confrontational. So I'm kind of disappointed that we're not having a actual episode today.
That doesn't mean that we can't be argumentative.
Oh no,
definitely
it's
be
gonna be
argumentative
argumentative.
And a question episode.
But it wouldn't really be a Lost Sheep podcast episode if I wasn't argumentative. Fun fact, glory story of the day, shout out. I got to share our podcast with people in my MBA cohort. 'Cause this one girl knows, 'cause I've mentioned before that I'm on a podcast, and we have a project for class where we have to do like a blog post. And so it's like, I got podcasting equipment, like, you know, we can probably use it and film this thing. And she was like, oh, what's the name of your podcast? And I pointed it, you know, I told her what it was or whatever, and she searched for it on YouTube. And she was like, oh, cool. So this is like a Catholic thing. And I'm like, yeah. She was like, oh, 'cause you're Catholic. And I'm like, it's typically how it works. But yeah, I'm really hyped for today. I love a good mailbag episode, so just cannot wait.
I know Evan has been heckling us literally for weeks about doing this, and we've been heckling y'all for weeks about us doing it, and we have not delivered. But this is the week that we put it together and actually got it out there. But before we get into it, Nazario, you haven't told us about your week. How was your week?
My week was pretty great. My girlfriend came down for the weekend, and she was able to play board games. I won't mention the name, Cole, on the podcast, but board games that we enjoy playing at our house for the first time with our group of friends. So that was a lot of fun. And then we had NFL playoffs on Saturday and Sunday. We had the national championship on Monday. So there's a question about that potentially that we could pull out from the bowl that I know about. So that would be really fun.
About the national championship?
About the national championship.
I know exactly what this is.
So that would be a lot of fun if that
I didn't know
pops out.
this. I didn't know this, but a lot of people think Fernando is cute.
Really?
Yeah. Like, a lot of girls. Like, I've met, like, at least 4 girls who I talked to this weekend were like, oh, my gosh, Fernando Mendoza is so cute. And I think it's because he's Catholic.
That's got to be the number
Like,
one
I'm
reason.
dead serious.
Yep,
It's
to be.
all
Not the
national
Heisman Trophy,
championship.
not the national
Like,
championship.
No. But it's all Catholic girls, and they're all like, oh, my gosh, she's so cute. And I'm like, you're seeing a Catholic win, and you're like, oh, he's so cute. Like, boys, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, well. But anyway, oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Anyway, shout out, outed you. But anyway, yeah.
If
so
you're on podcast, you have no idea what just
yeah,
happened.
if
and don't
you're on
get to know.
Spotify, you can't see bright red emanating from one of our faces. So
Oh boy.
anyway, Without further ado, I think we enter on our first question, and we're gonna try to keep this kind of I think like shortish, because I know last time
Well, we did the practical prayer practice segment last time during it, and so I think we've got time. I think we'll
Yeah,
be able to make
yeah.
our way through it.
it might, and I think if we have one or two questions, we'll just stretch it into a longer episode.
Yeah, we
But,
can.
you
I
know.
mean, I'd say we finish them all, unless
Yeah.
we're like halfway through the questions and
This
we're
guy's just
making a
reading
rant.
them. He's just straight up
Haven't
reading
read
them.
a single one.
Yeah.
Just-
All right. So we'll go Nazario, me, Cole, and then we'll just continue the order like that until we run out of questions. If we, obviously we at the discretion of our picking, if there's something that we are not going to talk about, and then we'll put it back in the bowl.
Maybe you
and
should read the question yourself
we'll
before
shame you.
vocalizing it to the rest of the podcast.
Of course.
But real quick, so you guys kind of get the context of this. We don't know anything about what's inside of here. This is all on the fly. We thought it was best to keep it that way, so we keep it authentic. All three of us are going to be answering these if we need to. And are you serious? Is it literally the first question? Oh, okay. And so that's what we're going to be doing.
Take us away.
All right, first question
It's like
for today
Harry Potter.
is a funny one. It's not super serious.
'Kay.
Simple as this. 4 words. Did Jesus take naps?
Did Jesus take naps? Yes, he did. Didn't he?
in the boat.
Yeah.
In the boat.
He was
Is
sleeping.
that considered a nap? Wasn't it at night?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but I don't think he was. I think that's a nap. I think Jesus, performed his miracle and was like, you know what? I'm going to give myself some rest. And so I think some days he's just like, yeah, I'm going to take a nap. Do you think Jesus took naps, Evan?
I would have to go back to when did we start using the word nap,
That's true.
right? Like, maybe AI that one real fast. But I would say, yeah. I mean, like, as we know of, like, I can see our Lord and Savior taking a cat nap, well, especially as a baby, like, I mean, we discount that, right? He was a baby. So like, what 2 or 3 year old is not taking a nap? Sorry, getting a phone call. But
Are you two regular nappers? Like, is
No.
napping part of
No,
your life?
not anymore.
no.
Not really. I feel like it's hard. I think it messes up your daily, like the rest of your day and the sleep the next day. And so I'm not a napper either. But I would assume that Jesus took naps.
Yeah.
The AI overview
Ooh.
says that he did indeed, including Cole, as you shouted out, taking a nap in a boat during a storm in Luke chapter 8. So Jesus did indeed take naps. But I think if we want to expand on this a little bit, make it a little bit of a actual conversation
Oh.
here,
What are you about
we
to
can
spin?
talk about the importance of sleep and the importance of rest. And so actually, I think about this from last night. We were at my Bible study. It's at 8 p.m. this year to 9 p.m. And if you know anything about the sports world right now, it's college basketball season, the heat of the season. And so there's lots of games on every single night. And what's up?
That's what I forgot to ask you pre-podcast. We usually chop it up. Charles Bediako.
Oh, maybe we'll add that to the next question.
Yeah.
But so last night, my friend Robert, massive college basketball fan, him and I, and we get done, and I'm like, Robert, are you gonna stay up for Kansas, Colorado? Starts at 10 o'clock. Doesn't matter about that. And he's like, no, I gotta wake up at 6 a.m. And with Exodus 90, you have to get 8 hours of sleep every night, or your goal. Like you have to try to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that this, if you don't know what Exodus 90 is, it's basically like a super Catholic discipline, like boot camp type thing for any lay people or even non-lay people, it doesn't matter, to participate in. And one of the key things is get 8 hours of sleep. So it's interesting that this focuses on how important sleep and rest is to our lives. What do you guys think?
I mean, yeah, sure.
Like
Biologically, physiologically, yeah,
But
absolutely.
spiritually, what do you think?
Spiritually, I mean, yeah, sure. I think the coolest thing is like sleep is a natural regenerative process, right? So like when you sleep, like your brain heals itself, your body heals itself, obviously. So like you're able to better face the next day, right? And it's why like we sleep so much better now in general than we did when like we were fighting for survival. Is because like we weren't worried about like things killing us during our sleep, like saber-toothed tigers and stuff like that. But we also like fed ourselves better now, and things like that. So like who's to say, right? Like Jesus in the desert, no food, limited sleep. He's worrying about like this is the desert of like the Middle East. There's like tigers and snakes and wild things out there, right? So he's not sleeping great, and then the Lord of the universe is being tempted, and it's not like a soft temptation. And so yeah, I mean, any lesser man would have definitely fallen there. So sleep's important. Sleep's important. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't make it. It didn't have to be some massive conversation, but just thought it'd be interesting to make
Yeah.
the question a little bit more serious. So,
Yeah.
Evan, you wanna
Yeah.
go for our next one?
Do I have to?
He's rifting through it. Oh, yep. There you
The
go.
ASMR is so good.
Can you hear it?
Yep.
ASMR.
Is that a paper popper?
It's like Dumbledore.
If you're on visuals, you definitely hopefully get that reference.
Okay, that's a good question. Silence. What's your thought on cultivating silence in your life?
And we've talked about this so much, and I think it continually gets brought up that this is the hardest part of prayer for me, at least, because most of my prayer is noise, if that makes sense. It's silence in its own way for me, but I think cultivating silence in your day-to-day life in prayer is extremely important, because a lot of the time the way the devil gets at us is by filling our life with noise and surrounding yourself in chaos. And so when you take a step back and just allow yourself to reset, I remember Evan, for our freshman and sophomore year Bible study, used to challenge us, it's like once a semester, to just sit in our room and close our eyes and just sit in silence for like 10 to 15 minutes and allow ourselves to be open to receiving God's grace and his prayers. Because a lot of the time we want to make the noise first. We want to talk first rather than just sitting and just being. And then I remember sophomore year, Nazario entered into his what phase was that? Mindfulness.
Hippie phase?
His mindfulness hippie phase. And all the time we would work and challenge each other to be mindful and to just sit and kind of just listen and not really think anything, but just be and see what God was trying to tell you. And so I think cultivating silence is extremely important, and I think the best way to practice it is just by forcing yourself, sit down in your room, just by yourself, no noise except for the white noise of an air conditioner, a fan, whatever it may be, and just see where that takes you. But that's my thoughts. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, and an interesting point is I feel like that practice, like mindfulness, sitting in silence, it wasn't as conscious of a decision until really, like, I feel like in our age, the last, 50, 75 years, where there has been so much explosion of noise, and that we are just way more oriented to be consumers in our lives compared to just being human beings. And so we're constantly just waiting for someone to try to grab our attention and just try to fill us with knowledge, fill us with information, whatever it may be. So now it's up to us to really challenge ourselves to sit in silence and to just, as you say, Cole, just be in the present moment. And so I think it is extremely crucial that we make this intentional in the way that we do this, because although, Cole, you have a great connection with music and how God speaks to you through music, it's a great way for God to speak to us. And there's plenty of other ways that he speaks to us through noise and information. But also, we have to be able to silence our hearts to be able to hear him. And we can't do that if we're constantly just filling and listening to different things. So silence is very crucial for our spiritual lives, but also just like for our lives in general, to be able to know ourselves, to be able to sit down in silence and understand yourself instead of just constantly consuming other things and learning about things other than yourself. At some point, you need to be able to know stuff about yourself, and that you find that out a lot through silence and being alone with your thoughts.
And I think, like, to add on top of that, like, I think it's important to know what the context of this silence is, because there's a difference between just silence in your surroundings and silence in your heart. Like, for me, I find a lot of silence in my heart and peace in my heart in music, in noise, which is crazy. And so, like, there can be silence of your heart in that as well, and I think it's important to balance both. Like, have silence of heart, find the things that bring you silence of heart, and then also just have silence just in the noise, silence in the chaos, and just be. Evan, you're the one that's taught us all this over the last couple years.
No, I'd say personal experience as well. But what I was going to say is, first adding on to Zario's point, right? Like, we go back to the story of Elijah, right? God asks Elijah to go up the mountain and go into this tiny cave, and God's not in the raging storm, he's not in the fire, he's not in the earthquake, but God is in the tiny whisper that comes after all of that, right? And if Elijah's not silent, he can't hear him. I was gonna say, actually, like right now in my life, I really feel that lack of silence. Like obviously there's a lot going on between, grad school and getting ready for life, being married, and the planning a wedding, and this and that and the other, and just generally having a person that you talk to every single day. But like today I went in the church. I don't know if y'all went to the chapel this morning, but there was a sign on that said closed for cleaning the tower. And so I went in the church, and I was very locked in. Like, I've been trying to get my 10, 20 minutes of like go and sit before I go to class, like 8:50 to 9:10, and usually it's closer to 9 to 9:10. And some days it's 9 to 9:05, right? That's just how we are as humans. But like I was just very locked in. And it wasn't like I'm locked in on like praying the rosary. It was just like I'm locked in existing in this space. And I often do find it is easier for me to like be silent in a big space, like outside, like in a big field, or in like the sanctuary where it's big, because it kind of helps me to reflect on like that insignificance of me. Like when I'm filling an entire space, when like a space is like I feel crowded, I'm like, man, I am such a big object in this space. Like I am like physically and like mentally filling this space. But when you step into something like a great cathedral or a church, or you're out in nature, you're like, man, I am tiny. Like I am small. And so, by virtue of being small, there has to be something bigger than myself. And I don't know about y'all, but I've always listened to the biggest person, because that person can beat you up. And if it's God, he doesn't want to beat you up, but he really can beat you up. And so like, those are the times we need to listen, right? When we realize that we are not the biggest thing. Did it just start raining really hard, or did the AC turn on?
The AC just kicked
Okay.
on. You're good.
But yeah, silence is huge. I also think it's one of those things where it is a recentering. Like, I think I did once or twice this semester for the past 2 years tell y'all, like, just spend 10 or 15 minutes in silence, because there's rarely been a bout of silence where I've been truly silent, where like I am seeking to like think about nothing, where like some new thought or some new perspective on how my life is going right now has not popped up. And those are gifts, right? Like I don't always think of like, oh, have I heard God's voice? But like that's, those are those little moments where you hear God's voice in. So yeah.
I think my favorite moments of silence, just to add on to that and what you're saying, like being insignificant, something I like to do, especially during the summer or in the spring, is just go out and look at the stars and kind of just be and realize how big the universe is and how small your existence is. But also it just shows the importance of the role that you play where you're standing right now. And so that's another practice that I use for silence. But with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next question. Let's see what we got here. So this question was pulled out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Fresh off the paper, fresh off the press.
What was that a parody of?
It's Josh Pate. It just was terrible.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. Anyways.
I thought it was wonderful, Cole.
Thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
I appreciate you.
Confident. Clicking with confidence.
Clicking with confidence, as Nazario always says. Ooh, this is a really good question. I'll swing it to you guys to answer first. Who inspires you?
So, there's obviously a lot of different inspirations
Josh
in
Allen.
our life. Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
That's crazy.
Really?
No, you go first.
What?
I don't
You're
know.
inspired to lose every big playoff game in your life?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, true. I'm inspired by Lamar Jackson to do a
humility
very
and
similar
failure.
thing. Yeah.
Dude,
so,
yeah.
so yeah, that's. But anyways, our real inspirations obviously come from. I know for all three of us will probably say our parents have been pretty big inspirations in our lives. I know
think
Evan,
we can knock off parents in Jesus.
parents and Jesus. Someone other than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make it real
'Cause I
challenging
feel like
out here.
No offense, but I feel like those are layups.
Okay,
right?
so I'm
We're
gonna do.
and all, obviously we're blessed to have those be
Yeah.
layups, right? Like I love my parents; they're great role models, and I'm blessed to have them as what I would say
Yeah.
my first human role model. But
I got a good one here actually. So
okay,
I want to go into sports and performance psychology. How did I find this? Where did I, think of this? My inspiration comes from a guy named George Mumford, who's actually that's exactly what he does, and he worked actually with Phil Jackson, the coach of the Chicago Bulls when they won 6 championships, the coach of the Lakers with Kobe
Phil
Bryant
J.
and Shaq. I
Yep.
don't know how many they won, at least like
three.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
So historic coach, and he showed or introduced George Mumford to Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. He's worked with plenty of other athletes, but really, he is my inspiration for why I want to go into sports and performance psychology and what he's able to do for people. So there's a real one. We actually got one there.
I mean, I can go ahead and go for mine. This is one of my favorite movies ever. I don't actually put it in the top 10 because it just has a different special place for me. And it's called Clouds. And who inspires me is this kid. His name is Zach Sobiak. And the reason why he inspires me is, I don't know if y'all have heard or watched this movie, but it is an incredible story about a kid who finds out he has terminal cancer at the beginning of the movie. And it's all about what would you do with your life if you had 6 months to live. And his time kept decreasing too. Like it was like 6 months originally, but it turned out to be like 2. And so the time that he thought he had was just stripped from him. And so watching his story, and it's a real life story, this is based off a true story. It was just really, really cool to see the way he went about things and his journey in fighting through the temptations that the devil would bring in that time period, and like ways that the devil would want you to live your life and then ways to combat it. So much so that his whole thing was music. I mean, he had his song Clouds actually went viral. It hit like I think it was like it hit a couple million views. It was
no, it was number 1
it was
on
really
music charts.
It was number 1 on the Amazon charts, and it just blew up. Like just like that. That's how much that story it can inspire people. And so like watching his journey and like a realization that God is so important in his life and his family is so important, and watching him go closer to his sister, to his girlfriend, to his best friend at the time. I mean, the story is really cool. So if you get a chance to watch a good movie and kind of like watch somebody truly live out their life to the fullest in the time that they have, especially through the facets of music, which is probably why I relate to it so much. And it is part of the reason why I still play guitar today. That movie meant a lot to me, is Clouds. So go watch that movie, and my inspiration for that would be Zach Sobiak. So,
is it fair? Can I dip into Matthew McConaughey for a second?
Go
here?
for it.
Okay. This is a pretty famous speech. Stop me if you've heard this, but Zach,
I know exactly.
Zach Sobiak. That's what's on my mind. Sorry, Matthew McConaughey gave this speech accepting an award a few years ago, in which he said, "Someone asked me about who my hero was, and I didn't
I
know."
think you've given this soapbox before.
I know,
He has.
I know, and I said I don't know, and so I spent 2 days to think about it, and I came back and I said, I figured out who my hero was, and he said, "Okay, who is it?" I said, "It's myself in 5 years." He said, "Okay, who's your hero in 5 years?" And he said, "It's my hero in 10 years. It's me in 10 years." And I think that's kind of true, right? I think, like, I'm inspired because I know that, like, I can do good things, do great things, right? And also, like, I look forward into the future and, like, see what my life could be like in 5 years. And that gives me inspiration to do these things currently. And this is odd because, we obviously just talked about what inspiration is, but, like, if how we talked about last week, how inspiration is kind of this divine nudging from God, right? And I'm talking, like, vocationally inspired by what I see, what I kind of can envision for 5 years from now. I'm like, man, yeah, like I could do that, but I also have to be like a really good fiance. I have to be a really good husband, and then I can be a really good father if that's if I'm so blessed like that, right? But also it's being like a really good worker. It's being an ethical leader. It's being a fantastic student for the next year and a half, right? And so like I think even though it's kind of a cheap out, right? That who's my hero, who's my inspiration, me in 5 years, because I know where I can be, right? And it inspires me every day to, get out of bed, to do the easy things, right? We've talked about this before. Hard things can be hard, but sometimes the easy things are hard too. To do the easy things and the hard things and just get the ball rolling so that I attain what I see as myself in 5 years. And then that process begins again, right? So
I like all three. How are we on time right now, by the way? We're only 3 questions, 3 out of 12.
We are 25 minutes in.
Okay.
hour and a half episode. Shall
On
I?
to question number 4.
Or do you guys, we could just split it into 2.
No, we can go on. Yeah, I saw that one earlier sticking out. It's quite an essay.
Very long question here.
Read it first. Is it 2 questions or 1 question? Looks like a little bit of a
All
comment.
right.
On the
We
back.
are going to read this and maybe reword it in a better way. We'll see here. My Bible study covered anxiety and the verse about how Jesus clothes. Man, that's a hard word.
Clothes.
Clothes
Yeah, clothes.
the flowers and feeds the birds,
Oh,
etc.
okay.
So he says not to worry, but there are people starving everywhere. Is this just explained by free will? So there are bad things happening can't read the word, because of free will. Bad things happening in the world because of free will. So Jesus promises us, or says in the Bible, that, he's going to feed the flowers and the sheep.
1 second.
But why? Why do people still starve? Why do bad things still happen? Is this all just because of free will? Cole, you want to go for it first? You want me to?
Hold on
I think
1 second.
Evan's got it.
1 second.
Yeah, just gotta-
It's Matthew 6:26. We just talked about this the other day. So Matthew chapter 6 verse 25. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds in the sky. They do not sow nor reap, yet they gather nothing into barns. Yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are not they more important than they? Are not you more important than they? Can any of you, by worrying, add a single moment to your lifespan? Why are you anxious about clothes? Learn from the way the wild flowers grow. They do not work or spin, but I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was clothed like one of them. If God so clothes the grass of the field, which grows today and thrown into the oven tomorrow, will he not make much to provide for you, O you of little faith? So do not worry and say, what are we to eat, or what are we to drink, or what are we to wear? All these things the pagans seek. Your heavenly Father knows that you need them all. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be given you besides. And I think at the end there, that's the answer to the question, right? And so, this question, right, if we rephrase it as, like, why do bad things happen? Like, why do people starve? Why are people thirsty, right? Like, we can go into the whole theology of that, right? Like, yes, free will, right? If everything's so easy and everything is, rainbows and butterflies, there's no choice, right? Of course, we're going to pick, like, God if he gives us everything immediately. Now, if we pick God, he is giving us everything right there, right? But we have to pick him. But I think the deeper to this question is, it says not to worry, but there are people starving everywhere. Is this explained by free will? And I think the harder part down here is, should I not worry about, like, feeding myself, going to work, wearing clothes, things like that? And the simple answer is yes, you should definitely worry about those things, right? But the simple thing that Jesus is trying to convey is that, like, those are not the things that should absorb your life, right? Like, the point of this verse isn't to say, like, oh yeah, you don't need to work because, like, you don't need food. Like, that's not true. And in fact, Paul writes in several of his letters to instruct people to stop social loafing, to stop just relying on the goodness of others, because we're called to do things in our lives, right? We're called to do good work, and not just rely on others for our food and our clothing and whatnot. But what God is saying, what Christ is saying in this passage, is simply like those are not things that should take the first priority in our life. The things that should take the first priority in our life are the first fruits of our life, which is Christ, right? Worry first about Christ, then about yourself, right? And I know we've talked about hierarchy of good, or ordering of goods or whatever, right? But if we think about like things like our priorities in our life, A1, get to heaven. B, number 2, worry about yourself, right? And then everything else comes after that, okay? So it's not don't worry about food because you don't need food. It's food should not be the main thing in your life. Clothes should not be the main thing in your life. Don't cause those things to be a distraction from Christ. Christ will provide for you, right? Do what you can for yourself. Christ will make the rest happen.
Yeah, and to answer, I guess, directly what you're asking, does this have to do with free will? And yes, it does. Like the fact that we suffer is it's the part that comes with free will, right? With our free will, we have to endure to get to the gates of heaven because we have the choice now to choose God. And our endurance comes with suffering. This is where we dip into a little bit of God's permissive will. Why does God allow things to happen? Anytime something happens, God is allowing it to happen. And so there's a meaning and there's a purpose behind that. And then that gets into a little bit of the theology of redemptive suffering and what that looks like for us as Christians, as Catholics. And redemptive suffering is actually one of the greatest tools for us to enter the kingdom of heaven because it's something that allows you to be transformed in a way that any regular thing in your life can't, because you are actually having to actively choose God in your suffering. And so why does God allow people to starve? Truth is, we don't 100% know because we aren't God. Do we know the answer to that? No, we don't. But God has a meaning for these things. And so I find that the people who have less actually are so much more full with the bounty of heaven. And I see that a lot with certain people. And so when God's talking at the end, I think what he's talking about in reference to the clothing part specifically towards the end of this verse is the clothing of eternal life. And to say, don't fret. Again, Evan's going back to the actual importance of these earthly things. Don't fret about those things. He said, like, go and strive for the clothing of eternal life that God will provide for you. And he's sitting there waiting to wrap it in your arms. And so that's my little answer on it. I don't know if y'all have anything else to add on top of that, but
Yeah, one like simpler aspect of this is it talks about that Jesus will feed the birds. And so I just want to make a simpler point about like how does Jesus feed the birds? Well, there is food in the world, but also he gives birds a way to go get food. Like they are able to go, they have talons, they have teeth, whatever you want to say, to go and hunt their food. We as human beings, we cultivate food. We farm. We are able to make money to go buy food. So a simpler point is he doesn't have to literally magically have food appear in your body, in your stomach, or right in front of you, and you're just given food. He's like, no, part of the gift of what he has given you to be able to do this is yourself. You are, all of us are a gift on their own. And you have been given abilities to be able to do these things so that you have food. And so just to remember that you have to do the work too. Like you are a part of doing it. You have the abilities. He has given you them. So just a simpler point that you don't have to go searching outward for these things. You have them given to you. So
Yeah.
Up to you, Evan, for the next question. Here he goes. Searching for question number 5 of the episode.
Is that one? Yeah, nice. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Ooh. How will the major you chose, and Cole, this is a question for you.
Oh no.
How will the major you chose help you bring people to the church?
Is that say on it specifically for Cole?
No. But I feel like
Adapting.
we've kind of applied this in some way to
We've
how we've
explained it,
chosen things. But So I'm gonna flash this one over to Cole. We can be very short because just like this is a question where we can roll. But
Y'all's are pretty.
yeah, ours are
blatantly
pretty.
obvious.
Ours are pretty explanatory.
Mine, the way I would like to view it, first of all, is I think all three of us have the opportunity in our workplace to evangelize, and that comes with fellow and employees we work with, our just anybody that we work with, any of our clients that we interact with, all of these things, that we are given an opportunity to evangelize in that by the way we act, the way we talk to them, and all these different things. For me, I think a lot of what my major kind of has to do, first of all, it's kind of just the general healthiness of the world with mechanical engineering, because we are literally working with things that hold people's lives. And so a lot of my job is just making sure people are safe, and not stripped away from their family. And for me, I'm working with a cast iron pipe company this summer. So it's nothing too special, but it still does play a major part in our in our world today with lots of the equipment we use. But for me, I think the reason I chose mechanical engineering is to help be able to comfortably finance and grow a holy Catholic family together with someone in the future. It would be, I'm really excited for that, and whoever it may be. But that's why I chose engineering, is because it gave me that financial stability. And really more of what my job is, we talk about the difference between an occupation and a vocation, is my job would be my occupation. I don't think it's 100% my vocation, and that's okay. Because my goal is to find a way to exercise my vocation in something else, whether it's investing my full time and heart into my family, or getting another opportunity to work with music at a local church. I don't know what that looks like for me. But I think my major in particular, the way I would use it to glorify God, is to be able to provide for my family and just keep people safe as a general well-being. So
Cool. Mine is corporal work of mercy.
Yep.
You know, care for the sick. But I also think, you know, like this summer I'm obviously working for a Catholic healthcare company. Like I think healthcare can be Catholic again. Like, you know, we look back, even like I mean honestly, even like the early 1900s, like a lot of healthcare was Catholic places, either churches or institutions or like, you know, missions, charities, things like that. So in the last 100 years, really, in the last 150 years maybe, we've swung to this like very atheistic, very a-religious medical society that we have today. And so I think there's a place for Catholic and Christian values in our healthcare. I also think, you know, like talk about how do we bring people to the church. Like there are certain services that Catholic and Christian healthcare providers provide that other places don't, right? Like, you know, we come at counseling, we come at mental problems, and what I mean by mental problems is disorders and, you know, physiological mental issues differently than some other hospitals or institutions would. And so, you know, you can increase the range of the church, increase the presence of the church, draw people into the church by simply, you know, telling them, hey, like life is worth living because like you're made for a reason and God loves you. Like some people haven't heard that their whole life. Like someone loves me. Or even like, hey man, I care, right? Like something like that, where at a hospital, at a, you know, Hobunk atheist hospital, a religious hospital, you can't say that. Like, yeah, sure, we care, but you're a hospital, right? Like you care because it's my money. You know, whereas I feel like working at a Catholic healthcare center, you know, that I care means something different. So,
And then, as you talk about full healthcare, you know, the full body. Mine focuses on the mental side. I want to do either specifically working with athletes in sports and just with mental performance consultation. And really, that's where I learned a lot from George Mumford. My inspiration from one of the few questions earlier was that how much working on these mental things to help you with performance actually can impact and help your lives. So just using sports and mental performance as an avenue to help people in their lives, you know, just to grow in peace and knowing themselves. And then I want to also hopefully get the education on it in the Catholic lens. So being able to provide, as Evan talked about, the Catholic way of, you know, providing these healthcare services to others to help people, and then hopefully, if God wants me to lead them towards Him in that type of practice, being able to do that as well. So.
By the way, George Mumford, his nickname is the Performance Whisperer. What a legend.
Yeah. We ready?
Yeah.
Okay. See what happens. Oh my gosh.
Beans?
Of course I drew this one.
Beans?
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Is it beans?
No, it's not beans.
Oh, okay.
That would shout out probably John Archer if it was beans.
Beans.
Unfortunately. Okay, so the question is just for me. And it's, why can't Indiana win the national championship? And Evan has no idea what we're talking about. But
I feel like we made a bet about somebody, but I can't remember it. So
y'all did about Iowa in the middle of the season. But I am now publicly admitting that I had the worst sports take, I think, in Cottage's history.
What was your take? Was this on Monday?
No, during the middle of the college football season, I told Nazario and Gil and Zach, who are all there to witness, and they probably won't ever let me live it down for the rest of my life, that the Indiana Hoosiers could never win a national championship.
He said they cannot win the national championship. Indiana cannot do it.
And they asked why, and I said it's just not going to happen.
They just can't do it. He said they just can't do it.
But I feel like that's a fair, since he had absolutely no reasoning whatsoever.
No, I just didn't think they. I mean, they're the most losing program in college football history, and college football normally just doesn't work like that.
Second,
so
right, second most losing.
So, I mean, I thought it was a pretty safe bet to say out loud, and let's just say I think God was listening and thought it would be really ironic for them to make a run, and so now I'm never hear the end of it. But Nazario, you can go ahead and draw a question.
If you guys didn't know out there, Indiana can and did win the national championship.
All right, bro.
So
All right, bro. All right,
shout out.
You were at
Mendoza.
Alabama.
Shout out for me.
Cute little Fernando. And all the brothers. Actually, yeah, shout out Fernando Mendoza for bringing the Heisman back to the brothers at IU. That was pretty sick. I don't know if we talked about this 2 weeks ago, I feel like. Or
on
last
LinkedIn,
week, maybe.
we did.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a joke one too.
I'm this guy's mic manager. What's on it? The beans?
I believe this says, "How about them Sooners?"
Let me see.
Yes, I don't really know why, considering
It's
I know
Emma.
who it's Emma.
It's
But
Emma.
Well, I don't know what this is about, considering
not. I
that the
think
last
she's
two
just
times
saying
that
it.
Alabama has played Oklahoma in football in the playoffs and in basketball
Yeah, a
last
week
weekend,
ago.
Alabama won both of those. So how
right.
about them Sooners?
Yeah.
They're just holding L's right now. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, I'm taking the yellow one because it's really long. So there's some fast ones in here, so that's good.
No, there's beans somewhere.
Oh. All right, guys. So we're sitting outside. If anybody knows who William Jarvis is, he's the leader of campus development, I think, here at Bama Catholic, and we're sitting out there, and we're asking him, like, write a question or something. And so here's his question: in light of Catholic social teaching on work and human fulfillment, how should we approach AI-driven job loss or automation? Should we limit labor-saving technology? So in light of Catholic social teaching on work and human fulfillment, how should we approach AI-driven job loss or automation? Should we limit labor-saving technology? And I feel like we should put this one back because I know I need to go look at Catholic social teaching on work and human fulfillment.
I mean, we were just deciding about extending and making another episode with the back half of this.
Well,
so I can take one out.
What are we at right now?
45 minutes.
And we have
here, let me swap because this one I feel like we should do some research.
Well, here, I saw this one. This is a good one. This is an
that's
easy
a question. Here, pass
good
it over.
closer for I think
Pass
us.
it over. Is it?
Yeah.
Does it start with what is? Oh,
but I think it's
yeah.
good.
So it actually starts with who is.
Yep.
So this is the one I saw. Who is your favorite saint?
I have my answer.
Go for it. And I want to say you can't say your confirmation saint because
Wait, can we
cheating.
What?
Come on, that's gonna be all of ours.
Can we
nope, it's not
predict?
gonna be mine
Can
at
we
all,
predict
actually.
who we're gonna say?
Yeah, sure.
So I have mine.
Wait, hold on.
Y'all want to?
Hold on. Let me think.
That's a good one.
Do y'all
I
want
like
to
the
cast
idea.
lots on? What do you think mine is?
All right, I got it.
You got yours?
I know who mine is.
Okay.
Wait.
Yours is Cole.
I got mine.
All right. So, Evan, it was your question, so we'll guess yours first.
Okay.
Is it, first of all, can we get one question to like narrow it down, or do you want us to
Get
just
one
blind
question.
guess?
Nope. Blind guess. St. Francis of Assisi. Cole? You?
Augustine.
Those are weird picks. No. JP2.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's blind.
Why?
My second is Faustina. JP2. Caroline and I say a prayer to JP2 every time we attend Mass together, after Mass. He's also just a cool guy. I like his method of evangelization. He also has a great story. And he's a banger of a pope. He wrote a lot of good stuff, including TOB.
You want to go over to me?
Cole's
We'll end with
is
Nazario so we can close the episode.
His favorite saint.
Cole's favorite saint.
Can we ask a question?
If y'all want to, but I think it'd be
I'm
more
gonna
fun to-
go
I don't think y'all are gonna guess it. It's not that hard, but I don't think y'all are gonna guess it.
St. Michael.
Bernard.
Nope. It's a good guess though.
Yeah.
It actually isn't even a male. You want to go now?
Ooh.
Cecilia.
Nope.
Oh, that's
Mother
shocking.
Teresa.
No.
Can we get the answer, please?
The answer is Saint Therese of Lisieux, and the reason why is because
Not shocking.
yeah, no, see, I knew it wasn't that shocking.
Yeah.
The reason why, my confirmation saint is Saint Peter. I would have chosen him, but I feel like I want to go a little bit more variety.
Saint Peter the Apostle.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but I really love Saint Therese of Lisieux because of her little way. I think it's the most practical to all of us for our daily lives and the way we should live our lives. And it's so refreshing to see a saint do something kind of smaller, but continually do it because it's a little more inspiring, because it feels a little more realistic for us as followers of God to view our life as working in the little ways and like finding ways to serve God in the mundane of what seems like nothing. So St. Therese of Lisieux is my favorite. But yeah. Evan, what do we do about
Is it
Nazario
somebody
here?
really niche?
Yeah, is it
Nope.
niche? No,
it's not niche.
Is it a founding?
Wait,
founding
who's
father?
your? Wait, I'm sorry. Who's your confirmation
church
saint?
father?
St. Rocco.
Yeah, it is St. Rocco. That's
Sebastian.
Right. Ooh. I'll go Benedict.
Nope. Same as Evans. JP2.
Oh man, that's
Ah,
not fun.
sorry. I couldn't change up my answer because it wouldn't be the truth.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there you
but yeah, very similar reasons to Evan, except
Yeah.
for I don't pray with Caroline after Mass every.
Yeah, that would be odd. That'd be strange.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been part 1 of our second mailbag episode, or second part of mailbag episodes. Second time we've done this, but we are going to come back with a part 2. We still have 4 questions to get to, so if you put a question in and we didn't read it out today, it'll be on the next one. If your question was included in this episode, please like the video and comment. Tell us that you were one of the contributors. And don't forget, like, follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all those different things, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can find us pretty much anywhere. And don't forget about our merch. There's plenty of that in the bio, wristbands, T-shirts, whatnot. This has been episode number 77 of the Lost Sheep Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in, and God bless.